Guys, deluded, I'm back again. YouTube's Lucas Torreira, YouTube's N'Golo Kante. Now, Arsenal, obviously, it's no secret. We lost on Saturday. There's no shame in losing to Manchester City. Better performance than it's been in the recent games against Manchester City, but ultimately it's still a defeat. And everybody's weighed in from, obviously, us Arsenal fans. I do think some are over-exaggerating, considering the opposition and the place we're in at this moment in time and the start of the season. But everybody's entitled to their opinions. Big Sam came in with his unwarranted, unasked opinion. In fact, it's unfair to say unasked because he was asked by TalkSport or was on TalkSport or whatever and weighed in despite not having the tactical CV that Unai Emery has. But everyone's entitled to their opinions. So I've come across some opinions from Tony Adams, the Arsenal legend. Now, if you love Arsenal, you love him and you've got a lot of time for him. Probably in the last year or so, he's been very outspoken in regards to Arsenal. Some warranted, some not. And he said some comments which have left me a bit... I don't know how to describe it. I'm not angry. I'm just thinking, come on, Tony. Like, you're better than this. And you, because of who you was as a footballer, you should know better than what you've said. He's obviously been speaking about... quick backdrop. He obviously spoke about Unai Emery in regards to the defeat. He said he questioned what he's been doing for 5 or 6 weeks. He said that he wanted him to play with this guy, that guy, and the other, and it wasn't meant to be. But I've got the actual bit I wanted to focus on is this. It's the same kind of performance, he said. I was a little bit deflated and disappointed. Coming from Arsene, who's always played open attacking football, I really wanted the new manager to come in and tighten things up. For the last 10 years now, we've been leaking goals, soft away from home. I wanted him to put in his new keeper, work with his back four, have 2 screening midfielders and keep a clean sheet. It was crying out for it, but I didn't see that. I thought he got the selections wrong. His 3 best players in Lacazette, Liechtenstein and Torreira weren't on, and I don't know why he didn't start them. Firstly, I'll say this. Tony Adams, if you say Liechtenstein was one of his best players and you believe that when he signed, cool. But most people looked at that, me included, with a degree of cynicism better, yeah. And it was a bit cynical. Not on the man's ability, just it stunk of underwhelmingness. So I don't necessarily believe you believe he's one of the 3 best players in this side. You're reaching on that. In regards to Lucas Torreira, we both wanted him to start. I really wanted him to start. I thought he would start. But clearly, you know, whether he's just returned from the World Cup. I know he just started his pre-season basically before we kicked off. What was his first game against Chelsea? He hasn't had that much of a pre-season, so I understand him not being in it. And obviously, if he wasn't levels and all of these things and he picked up an injury or he was off the pace, it's going to be demoralising. So in a sense that he's lost a battle to win a war potentially with Lucas Torreira. In regards to Leno, I agree. It is a bit concerning that he didn't start him, but Czech was neck and neck in regards to pre-season. He was good by one hand, atrocious by the other, so he'll probably be dropped out. You're better than this. You know these things. You know this, Tony Adams, man. You have been a footballer. Specifically, you have been a world-class defender back in your days. You have seen many different managers throughout your time. You should know that 5 weeks, even if it was that, is not going to be enough time to implement how you want to play defensively and compactness. But if we really want to be technical, yeah, we lost 2-0. But you saw some things to be positive about. Again, it needs balance and you can look at it differently and there's a time and a place. You saw us try and play out from the back. You saw a compactness in the middle. I actually think we did pretty well in the middle until the second half. It was the flanks where our problem was, and we need to work on that. We had a couple of incidences where we stopped paying attention to the middle, and that's where their goals came. But you saw it. You saw an improvement on our pressing, and we had some success against City. So it's not fair to question what a man's been doing for 4 or 5 weeks. Sorry, I really think it's unfair. Our Big Sam's weighing in. Tony Adams, these men are warranted to have their opinions. 2 screening midfielders, I get it. I get it. I understand it. But you should know better than this. If he doesn't think Leno is ready or whatever, and Leno plays and Leno has a howler, what are you going to say? You're going to question why he decided to sign him. So you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If we won, you would have probably said it's a masterclass. Again, I'm not going to get your own coach. Again, in fact, no. You was a coach briefly, so you should kind of understand this. You're better than this, Tony Adams. Like, you're coming out with a lot of this. Again, it's not necessarily wrong, but it's just from a place that it seems like you're just talking for the sake of talking. I'm baffled. You was a world-class centre-half, so I'm baffled as to how you can't understand that there's an art of defending. Away from an art of defending, there's dark arts of defending. You need to learn to sniff danger, to learn other people's jobs and a system. These things take time. You've played under Graham, who was skilled. Why do you think 1-0 to the Arsenal and all of these things before my time was said? Because he was skilled with creating a back four, and Wenger benefited from that. So you are smart. You know how long it takes to get everything gelling and things. So if you know this, why are you being harsh on a man? And even if you want to be technical, if you actually want to be technical and you get critique in the back line, they're actually probably our best players on the pitch. Mustafi, Liechtenstein, obviously for the Bernardo goal, I keep maintaining he could have done better. Socrates, them man there, especially Socrates and Mustafi, they can leave just based on that Manchester City game thinking they did okay because they didn't. Mustafi might have looked shaky at times and Socrates had in moments, but they were both competent and consistent and I really didn't do anything wrong. Bellerin, I felt he could have done better for both the goals and I feel he could have tucked in, but because I'm a fullback, I'm looking at him with a bit of cynicism. So I can understand where you're coming from, but even him, he didn't. His application was there. He was trying to implement new ways of learning. Liechtenstein did what he did. Maitland-Niles was being killed on the flanks, but he was holding it up. So on that basis, if the tacticalness in the middle, if the willingness to play out from the back is there, if you can't really critique any of the back four, or however you want to call it, then what are you talking about? Clearly you've seen what he's doing for the last 4 or 5 weeks, and by one hand, it's actually decent. Again, I don't necessarily think he's wrong, but you should know it isn't a quick fix, and it's upsetting. Like, 2 soft goals, I agree. The second one annoyed me the most because if that's City or Liverpool or someone else that's happening to, I saw the whole goal developing people. Like, someone should have brought down Gundogan. Watch the goal again and see how it develops. I'm so sure it's higher up the pitch in City's half on the left-hand side. Eventually it ends to Gundogan and you can see it being a counter, and about 4 or 5 Arsenal players are all near at some stage to bring a City man down just to disrupt their play. That's the sort of nastiness we're missing. So I don't not necessarily disagree with what you're saying. I actually do think it's concerning that Leno never started to a degree. But you should know better than this. You've literally said for the last 10 years we've been leaking goals. So how can, if it's been a problem for 10 years, just on your logic, how can you fix something in 4 or 5 weeks? If someone, think about it logically, and not to sound insensitive if anybody's going through this, but let's look at it from a different point of view, just to make it a bit more logical. If someone's been hooked on heroin and crack cocaine for 10 years, somehow they've survived. If they've been hooked on that for 10 years and they go rehab for 4 or 5 weeks, is that going to fix it? It's not, is it? That's how, again, that example makes it sound ridiculous, innit? That's how ridiculous you sound getting that Unai Emery. When it's 5, 10 games or so into the season, yes, critique him, yes, say certain things. And I'm using 5 games to 10 games plus as a rough guide. I'm not saying if he's doing underwhelming stuff before that, don't just praise him and shut your mouth for no reason. But you're better than this, Tony Adams. I'm very disappointed in you with this, man, because you're someone that's held close to my heart and you know better than this. Again, I actually agree with Lacazette starting as well. He really should have. But you're better than this, man. I don't know if you're just saying things for the sake of it, but you're better than this. Maybe Big Sam's not better than this, but you are better than this, Tony Adams. I've got nothing more to say, man. I mean, it's Unai Emery, whether you believe in the man or not, it is upsetting that managers that have actually dealt with a low reputation are weighing in. Legends are legend and Tony Adams weighing in, but I'm sure most people can accept that whether we're gonna get back in the top 4 or just remain sixth, to see any sort of improvement, it's gonna take time. And some people clearly can see that people are going very OTT with the defeat against Manchester City. Several things we did right, in my opinion. Even more things we could have done and we done wrong because we lost. But there was an improvement. At the end of the day, the cold hard facts are we lost 2-0 at home first game of the season and we have no 3 points. So we have to hold that L on in that regards. But it's come on, man. To just, again, if you said it was 10 years, you yourself said this has been an issue for 10 years, which it has, you're not wrong. And these players clearly haven't been here for 10 years. But if that's been an underlying problem in regards to Arsenal's mentality for years, how can you expect it in 4 or 5 weeks to improve? It can't, can you? It sounds mad. Guys, deluded, man. Get in the comments, subscribe, and do the rest. I'm out. Thank you very much for watching and rocking with me, man. Thanks.